Thank you so much for being here. Our next presenter is Lily Lilly, who will be presenting the Southern Way UGK Influence on Houston Rap, and she worked with Professor Stephen King.
Hi, so I'm Jordan Lilly, and I'm here to present to you my senior thesis, The Southern Way UGK's Influence on Houston Rap. First, before I get started, I'd like to thank my advisor, Dr. Stephen King, for all of his help on this paper since September of last year, and for being here today. I'd also like to ask you to bear with me, as my voice is very scratchy. So, first of all, who is UGK? Underground Kings is a rap duo better known as UGK. It's comprised of Bernard Bundy Freeman and Chad Pixie Butler. They're from Port Arthur, Texas, which is a small town about an hour outside of Houston, Texas, and the duo's major label debut was released in 1992 from Jive Records and is titled Too Hard to Swallow. So I'm going to play a little sample just so you can hear what I'm talking about. This is how the music originally sounded. Maybe I'm not going to play it. Okay. Well. That's what it sounds like, looped over each other both at the same time. Sorry for all the technical difficulties. Thank you, I appreciate your help. So that's what they sound like. So my two thesis questions were, what did UGK's music contribute to an emerging Houston rap scene? And how did UGK's musical contribution function to shape the genre as a whole? So my rationale statement is that I found no research on Houston rap at all, no scholarly research, and none that focused specifically on UGK. So I wanted to fill this gap and explain and understand what Houston rap contributes to the larger genre of rap and what it contributes to the city and the communities within it. So my process, this started in September of last year, and I was interested in looking at punk music and rap music as forms of expression of anger. And they express really similar forms of anger in terms that it's related to socioeconomic status and sort of social standing, but they sounded so different, and I wondered why they sounded so different. That was incredibly broad, way too broad. And so I moved on to focusing on looking at expressions of emotion and identity creation through storytelling and music. I needed to pick a specific genre, and I'm from Houston, and I love rap, so it made sense to do Houston rap, and I decided to use UGK as the vessel for this. My background as a cultural and rhetorical communication student also informed my research process. I used narrative analysis, which is a form of rhetorical critique, to shape the analysis portion of my paper and as a tool to understand the music. So a brief overview, I start with sort of the question, where did rap begin? And then I move into an overview of Black music in Houston, Texas. I introduce the reader to UGK and their work and explain how they came to collaborate with one another and how their initial work was received. I then move into an analysis looking at themes present in their music, which I'm in the process of finishing this chapter right now. And then before the end of the semester, I'll write the fifth chapter, which is talking about the end of UGK, Nipsey's death, and who they influenced. So some quick context on the presentation. So in 1979, several years after hip-hop culture had begun to take root in the Bronx and Queens, New York, Rapper's Delight was released by Sugar Hill Gang, and this rap music was really influenced by Jamaican and Caribbean culture of DJs toasting over rhythms. So this creates a direct cultural and musical lineage between Kingston, Jamaica, and Brooklyn, New York. We then see traveling south in 1984 in Miami, Florida. It takes root in Miami, rap does, with Uncle Luke, or Luther Campbell, who was a DJ and a concert promoter, and he took notice of Two Live Crew and brought them out to Miami and began to represent them. Finally, we see in Houston in 1986, the first recorded Houston rap single was released called Car Freaks by the Ghetto Boys. And this was released by Jay Prince, who owned a car dealership in Houston. And he goes on to create Rebel Records and release this tape. So I also include a brief history of Texas music, which I'm going to skim for this presentation, but from blues music in the 20s to funk in the 70s, Texas has an incredibly rich cultural and musical history. And I think it's really important to provide both of these backgrounds because I'd like to situate Houston rap within a long lineage of Black cultural expression. And I'd also like to establish in my analysis the musical influence that allowed allow UGK and their contemporaries to create the work that they did. It's important to acknowledge that like every genre, Houston rap didn't come from a vacuum. It comes from a large constellation of cultural and musical expressions, and I think that's really important to honor that. So now on to UGK. In 1990 is the first time we see Pimp C and Bun B collaborating together in a group with two of their friends, Jalen Jackson and Mitchell Queen, and this is under the name Four Black Ministers. A year later, Jalen Jackson and Mitchell Queen leave to go to work and school respectively, and UGK becomes Pimp C and Bun B working together. This same year, we meet Russell Washington, who's the owner of Big Time Records, and Pimp C is actually just walking around a flea market and sees this guy with a sign that's like, I want to put out a record. And Pimp C comes up to him and he's like, I've had this tape in my pocket for so long, the label wore off, like take it, listen to it, please let me know what you think. And he loved it. So in 1992, Big Time Records releases The Southern Way, which is the first cassette ever put out by UGK. In the first 4 months after being released, it sold 40,000 units, which doesn't seem like a lot today, but for making a cassette in your mom's bedroom and not having a major label deal, that's an incredible amount of tapes to sell. So then finally in April of 1992, 4 months after the release, UGK has their first major label deal with Jive Records, and they re-release The Southern Way, titled Too Hard to Swallow. I'm going to skip a couple years here. So in 1999, UGK has now released Right and Dirty and Super Tight, and then this year in 99, they collaborate with Jay-Z on Big Pimpin', which skyrockets their fame. It's a huge boost for them. So I'm going to move into the analysis portion now. So I want to say a note about narrative criticism really quickly for those of you who aren't familiar with the framework I'm using. So Sonia Foss, who is a rhetorical critic, she says that narratives organize the stimuli of our experiences so we can make sense of the people, places, events, and actions of our own particular experiences. I chose this method because features of all narratives are both intensely particular to our own experience, but also shareable and relatable to those around us, and this allows UGK to create something that really speaks to their own lives, but is also relatable to an audience, which blurs the line between personal identity creation and community identity creation. And with narrative criticism, you choose specific features of a narrative to analyze, so there's a wide range you can choose from, and this can be characters, events, temporal relations, but I chose to look at setting and theme because I thought they were the most appropriate for UGK's music. So the theme that I looked at is an overall theme of materialism and ownership, which is evident in UGK's discussion of slabs, which I'll talk about in a moment, it's a Houston car that makes up the majority of Houston car culture. And the second one I looked at was setting by way of home and place, and I argue that UGK expresses home and place by sampling and remixing, which I'll explain later as well. So slabs, for those of you who aren't familiar, this is a photo of the slab on the right. They originated in Sunnyside, which is a neighborhood on the south side of Houston, Texas. And slab is an acronym for slow, low, and bangin', or slow, loud, and bangin'. And it's used to indicate any car with the following characteristics. So we have candy paint, lush interiors, the fifth wheel mounted on the back, loud stereo system, and most importantly, Texan wire wheels or swangers, so you can see them on the rim. It pokes out from beyond the tire. So I'm going to try this. I don't know how it's going to go this time. Please go. Okay, you got it? So this is the song that I'm talking about in my analysis section. Okay, so that's the song that I looked at. Yes, okay. So, now that you know a little bit of slabs and you've heard the song 3 or 4 times, I guess, by now, I wanted to tell you that slabs were really expensive and were really rare, the kits that you had to buy to modify your car until the mid-90s. So, if you're riding around in a slab, it draws immediate attention to you. It tells you that you know the right people to get these parts and you can afford them. Puts you in immediate danger because someone will come up, put a gun in your window, and take your car. And it also puts you immediately on the police's radar, which is a large issue in Black communities in Houston, Texas. So the lyrics that were in that song that I'm analyzing are everything I write original, no kids on them chops, 18-inch Lorenzos, Yokohama tires, poking, leaving motherfuckers till they woken. And so this is just one sort of sample example of how UGK talks all the time in their music about slabs. It's a really important part of their personal identity and community identity. So in my argument, slabs work as a distinguishable and visual representation of wealth. Slabs are all almost older model American luxury cars, so Cadillacs and Lincolns. And since they're expensive to modify and incredibly rare, they function to symbolize a display of wealth that's really distinguishable from displays of wealth in wealthy white communities in Houston neighborhoods. Slabs work for Black communities in Houston to not only show how much money they have, but to also say that they're creative with the way that they spend it. This is sort of a really personal expression to them. It's not by chance that cars are the method of nonverbal communication. They offer transportation and mobility. And though many Houston rappers aren't looking to leave the city, they are looking to distance themselves or put themselves above the lifestyles lived in their community, which are often dangerous and lower income. So they function as a form of identity creation that remains specific enough to your personal neighborhood. You can show love and respect for where you come from, but it also shows everyone that you've sort of stepped away from the lifestyle that's lived there. You make more money. At first glance, you might interpret slabs as a metaphor for a method of escape, but there's actually no indication that they're looking for a physical exodus of the city or their neighborhoods. Upon closer look, slabs represent place and wealth. Within their personal communities, it implies that they've transcended class levels and have stepped above and out of abject poverty, and they work to make that clear by modifying their car. So I'm just gonna nod, it's just just gonna nod to it. So my second theme is home and place, and I'm looking at sampling and remixing as a tool for commentary on and creation of cultural space and place in Houston. So sampling and remixing, for those of you who aren't familiar, sampling is done with a sampler machine, which is basically a computer that can loop and modify any existing sounds, so tracks from other songs that influence you, a car horn, anything you want. And remixing is just taking a piece of media and altering it from its original form, so whether that's adding, removing, or changing the item. The primary form of remixing in Houston culture is Chopped and Screwed, which is like a whole nother rabbit hole, 60-page paper, but if you want to talk about it, come find me, because it's really interesting. So the first song that I look at for home and place by way of remixing and sampling is Tell Me Something Good by UGK. This song samples Summer Breeze by the Isley Brothers, Tell Me Something Good by Rufus and Shaka Khan, I'm Gonna Love You a Little Bit More Baby by Barry White, and The Bridge Is Over by Boogie Down Productions. So these samples were meticulously and really purposefully chosen because they pay homage to funk music, rhythm and blues, soul music, and disco, which were all largely popular in Houston. They also have a personal note for Pimp C. They honor his stepfather, who was his biggest supporter of his music and showed him this music when he was a kid. It ties the music of UGK when they sample songs like this to the larger canon of Black creative expression by sampling genres that are thought to be of really classic and important Black music, and it relates their music to that. The next song that I look at for creating home and place by sampling and remixing is Feel Like I'm the One Who's Doing Dope. So this song samples Scarface, who's a member of the Ghetto Boys, who I mentioned earlier, releases Car Freaks, the first Houston rap song. And he's singing repeatedly on the hook, I feel like I'm the one who's doing dope. And this feature comes from the Ghetto Boys song off their fourth studio album called Mind Playing Tricks on Me. This album was released after they had already reached cultural and critical acclaim, so everyone knew who they were, and it was sort of the first rappers to put Houston on the map. In sampling this, Mind Playing Tricks on Me, the Ghetto Boys song, features themes of extreme paranoia, outbreaks of intense violence based on a drug-fueled confusion of what's real and what's not. And UGK's song, if you follow the lyrics along, functions exactly the same. It's exactly the same story, just changed a little bit with the Scarface feature. In doing this, they create community among Houston rappers. So it's sort of a, I'm paying homage to you, and because your art is successful, I want to establish myself as being in the same ranks as you. But it also just pays homage to their icons and influences and says, thank you for the music you made, it really influenced me. Now it's in my music, which again works to sort of blur that line between identity, personal identity and community identity. So what's next? I'm going to complete my analysis chapter, almost done with that, and then I'm going to write the final fifth chapter, which is talking about how they ended Nipsey's death, who they influenced, and then wrap it all up with a conclusion. So that's what's left to work on, and how I'm going to continue this work. And thank you for coming. Do you have any questions before I move? I actually went to high school with her. She did an interview recently and was talking about how much of an influence Pimp C and UGK had on her life and her music. And she kind of, if you listen to enough UGK music, you can place sonic ties, not even sort of literal, like, this person influenced me in an interview, but like really looking at how these sort of funky samples in country western rap music has continued forward in Houston rap. So, yeah. John, anything else from? What's up?
Do you remember the first time like hearing him? Like when did you fall in love?
I do remember the first time hearing him. I was in my high school boyfriend's Mustang, and we were driving somewhere, and he put on Front, Back, and Side to Side by UGK, and I was like, what is that? What is this? What is it? And he was like, oh, it's UGK, you don't know. And I remember I went home, and all day I was like on YouTube, what is this? Like, where did it come from? What did he make? I want to hear it all. And so it's been really influential. It's I love rap music, and I love Houston, and the blend of the two is just really meaningful to me.
So you mentioned at the beginning that there isn't really any foundational research for this. So what process did you go about like, doing all of this basically primary research?
Yeah, it was incredibly frustrating all the time because there's just no one in any academic field that wanted to talk about this. So what I really did was a lot of biographical research. There's a woman, I'm blanking on her name right now, she was a music journalist at Ozone, and she wrote a book about Pimp C. And that has been like one of my most heavily cited sources because I think it gives a lot of background and context into how they were when they first began working together, what they were interested in. And so from there, I literally just sort of had to forge my own understanding of the music based on biographical information because there's just not any scholarly research done. Did you have a question, Tia?
I have one more question.
So which is kind of based on that, because oftentimes I say, you know, people will say West Coast, East Coast, and I'm like, no,
Yeah.
And, you know, and so the question was based on like, without any research, how do they go about that? But also the other question was, like, I'm interested in like the consensus theory, like how do people, like, do you have more research on like, how they shaped not just the music in Houston, but the actual community? Like, is that something that
That's sort of something that I've been really interested in looking at. And actually this morning when I was thinking about sort of how to continue this research, I was thinking sort of, this is like really specific and probably won't be in the final paper, but I was thinking about like generational trauma sort of and how this relates to that maybe, especially with slabs, like expressions of wealth and sort of establishment of identity, like really strong identity when you've historically been disenfranchised. And I was thinking about that. I don't have a lot of information about how they've influenced the actual community. What I can tell you is that Bunby, the other half of UGK, he actually is a professor now at Rice University, and he teaches about religion and rap music. And so he does a lot of, and he also does just so much other community work that's incredible. And if you're interested in that at all, I would look into him because he has so many amazing sort of programs and everything that he's just really championed in Houston. So, yeah. Thanks for asking.
Thank you so much. No.
Thank you very much.
But more importantly, I'd like to invite up your advisor, Dr. King, to give you your honor scroll in recognition of everything that you've done. Woo!
So I was driving around Boston last weekend. We passed a car and I said to my wife, there's the tire with that thing sticking out called a swinger. I didn't know anything about it. So I always tell my students, but I'm learning too. So yes, I'm the faculty advisor, but I feel like I was the student. Because my understanding of rap is Public Enemy in the 80s and Kendrick Lamar. And in between, I knew nothing. So thank you very much for the learning opportunity. Jordan set the bar high for all future honor students. She's tenacious, she's dynamic, she's a wonderful presenter, she's really smart, and she dived right in because I kept on saying, what is, the so what question? You've got to create something original, and diving in and looking at an artist and a genre in which there's been no scholarly work, that takes a lot of guts. So my hat's off to her for basically going in and creating something new where there wasn't anything before, so.
Thank you so much for saying that.